This year's garden getting started pretty well. Looks like we need some fertilizer and some water. Looks like water might be coming. Potatoes looking good, beans are all sprouted. We're about ready for a trellis on our peas and cucumbers, so got a little work to do. Every year since about 2012 or 13, my wife and I have planted a garden, and there's lots of reasons for that, but one of them is we want to learn to grow healthy, good food at our home that we can eat, better than buying stuff from the grocery store. Obviously, there's a money savings overall, but at the core of gardening and homesteading and prepping, the idea is self-sufficiency. The idea is that you can take care of yourself if there's an emergency or need, but also just to take care of yourself. It's satisfying and rewarding to provide your own food and grow your own food. But today I wanted to answer a couple questions that have come up. Number one is prepping. That means preparing for some kind of emergency in the future. They're all different variations and levels of prepping, but is prepping a biblical concept, or is it okay for a Christian, a Christ follower, to be a prepper? Do those things go hand in hand? Do you have to be a prepper, or should you not be a prepper at all? What do you think the Bible says about that? So I'm going to offer my ideas and my opinion on that, and a few verses from the Bible, as well as answering this question: what would be the most valuable thing in an emergency? What is something that I think a lot of preppers overlook, in many cases anyway? What's the most valuable thing in an emergency? What would be the best thing that you could invest time into having if the world came crashing down like it kind of did in COVID, but maybe even worse than that, and you needed things? What would be the best thing for you to have on hand? What would be the best thing for you to prepare and save for a time like that? There's a big difference between the prepping community and the sustainable living community, or what I would consider like the homesteading community, which I would consider us. That's more where we fall. And it seems to be that many of the homesteading community and even the preppers they have some kind of link to a strong faith. You guys know, if you've followed along with our channel for any period of time, that we are Christ followers, and that guides a lot of the decisions we make and a lot of the things that we do. And so many times I've even asked myself, is it biblical? Is it okay to be a prepper? I was engulfed with this stuff years ago. I think after 2008, when the big recession hit, a lot of people started to wake up and realize, like, oh gosh, things could happen in this country or in the world, like that could cause problems, or jobs could be lost, or home values, all these things that people put a lot of their faith in, they could go away, and I need to be prepared for that. And so this huge prepping community was just exploded, and there was things all over YouTube about it. All these YouTube channels popped up, and all these preppers, and a lot of the times, not all preppers, there's a lot of great solid preppers out there, but a lot of them, I think, would focus in on the wrong things. These guys and girls and couples and families, they would spend their time and resource. There's shows even on Netflix. There's a whole series about the prepping community. They would just consume their life. They would prep, and they would dedicate a large amount of their time and money that they've earned to save things and build things to save things, and bunkers and all this kinds of stuff. So is that right? What does the Bible say about that? Well, I think there's two sides of this, two camps that you could look at. On one hand, we're supposed to trust in God for provision. Matthew 6 talks about do not store up for yourselves treasures on earth, where moth and rust destroy, but instead store up for yourself treasures in heaven. So we think about storing up for ourselves things on earth, treasure that is going to bring us some kind of joy or happiness. And the Bible says, don't put all your eggs in that basket, because the moth and rust destroy. Anything in this world is temporary. Literally moth and rust destroy, and mice. I think about that in the prepping community. You save up all this stuff, and there's another parable about the man who built bigger barns, and he just, more and more he wanted, and he kept building more and more barns to store all of his stuff. I think that's against what the Bible teaches. I don't think that we should have that kind of fear. I don't think, the Bible talks about anxiety and being afraid for provision, that we should, God cares for the flowers in the field and the sparrows in the sky. Won't he much more care for you, the one he loves the most? And so from that perspective, I think we have to be really careful with how much we are invested in that world of trying to prepare for the next big disaster or the next big problem. I don't think that we should invest our lives into that. But on the other hand, I think there is some wisdom to preparing for emergencies, preparing for normal economic downturns and pandemics and whatever else might come our way in our lifetimes or our children's lifetimes. I think there is a certain bit of wisdom in having some preparedness or preparedness mind. So I look at the story of Joseph in the Bible. Joseph was one of the 12 brothers, and he was sold into slavery down in Egypt. He became, second to the Pharaoh himself. God was telling him there was going to be 7 years of plenty, there would be abundance, and then after that there'd be 7 years of famine. And so Joseph prepared. He went out and he managed storing grain, all the extra, rationed out things, and all that he did to prepare and store in great, I don't know how they stored grain in silos and barns and places, so that when the 7 years of famine came, that they would be okay. Not only were they okay in Egypt, but all of the surrounding land, even Joseph's family, his brothers that had sold him into slavery, they come down because there's no food where they live, and they come down. There's a great reconciliation that happens, but they're also provided for from the store that Joseph had stored up during that time of famine. So we do see kind of Joseph was like the great prepper in the Bible. So I think there, as with most things, there's some kind of a middle ground. I think that it is wise to have things prepared, and that as long as you're not doing it out of some kind of overabundance of fear or anxiety, that you're just afraid that the world's going to collapse around you and that God is not going to take care of you and your family. On the other side of that, I think, and this is where I'm at, it is wise to have some kind of you should not be on your last morsel of food in your home, all the time. You should have some storage of the things that you need, and at least to last you, I would say, at the bare minimum, a few weeks, if not a few months worth of food and supplies that you should just kind of always have on hand in your home. I think that's wise. And my reason for that is really this. I'm not afraid of anything. I don't really care. It's kind of, actually, to me, it's kind of exciting when things like this happen in the world, because we are prepared. And so I'm not afraid of things that way. I don't really have a fear about it. But why I prepare and why we do things like freeze drying food and other things like that, and have, chickens and gardens and freeze food and stuff, is because I don't want to be a burden on my neighbors, my friends, and my family when and if something does happen. I would rather be like Joseph, and like a person that people can come to, that I can help others, that my family are taken care of. God has provided for us, and God has allowed us to have a little bit of an extra so that we can give and care for other people. So I would rather be in that position than the other side of that, where I'm a burden to my neighbors and my community and my friends and family. So that's kind of my outlook on it. I think that's honoring. I think, in my faith, I think that all lines up. What do you guys think? I'd love to hear from you guys and what you think about, is prepping biblical? Is it a Christian thing to do? What are your thoughts? Lastly, I want to talk about when preppers do prep out there. Most of the time I see, and there's some real good people, preparedness-minded people out there, but what I do see most of the time, or many times, are people who are preparing and they're storing up gold and silver and coins and all of these things. They're talking about, and ammunition and guns and all these kinds of things. I think there's some sense of having a gun, having some way to defend yourself or hunt is certainly worthwhile thing to have. But honestly, if you think about it, what is going to be in hot supply and demand if everything in the world went to heck? I mean, we're all, the world's a mess. World War III breaks out, nuclear bombs go out, whatever happens, I don't know. There's another pandemic that's worse. Things are shut down. You can't get food. You can't get supplies. After a while, when all the stores are sold out and all the, whatever happens, are people going to really be looking for gold coins? Is that, do you really think that that's what people are going to want? That's what they're going to take as a barter to trade for something that you need? I don't think so. I think what's going to be in great demand and what's going to be the most valuable are very practical things, tools, and food. I think that's going to be the best thing you could store is growing food, storing food, buying food at farmers markets, buying food in bulk when things are in season, freezing, canning, and freeze drying, having those things on hand, because that is going to help you. And maybe your neighbor's got some extra gas that you want to run your tractor or your wood splitter or whatever. Hey, I've got some food. That they're not going to care about gold coins. They don't need it. They need some food for their family, or they need a tool, or they need a shovel, or they need fuel, or they need, those are the kinds of things I think that are going to be in high demand. So food to me, and this is why preserving food, learning to preserve food is so important, being able to grow your own food, is going to be the most high demand item, other than, I guess we saw toilet paper in the pandemic, but food is going to be the high demand item. And so that would be, if you're going to prepare anything, I would say make sure that you have at least a couple months supply of food on hand. This is why I've invested in freeze dryers and freeze drying equipment, because I think that is, a great way for us to store the food we grow here long term and have that available in the off season. That's really the main reason. But also to have a little extra on hand that's not going to go bad. I don't have to worry about freezing it or running electricity for freezers, that I can use in case of emergency. That's my thoughts on it. What do you guys think? I'd love to hear from you. I'm just spending some time out tending the garden this evening, and I thought this has been on my mind. I thought I would share it with you guys. So let me know what you think about prepping, about what the Bible says or doesn't say about it, and what would your number one prep be? What would be the thing that you would think that you would want to have on hand, most, or maybe what's your top 3 things that you would want to have on hand that you think are most important? So thumbs up on today's video. If you're not a subscriber of the SSL Family Dad channel, I'd love to have you subscribe, tag along, share this video with friends and family if you think they'd be interested. And as always, guys, thanks for watching. Have a good one.